balancing act.
Are you confident about Bilbao? You'll win the semi-final?
Honestly, I don't know. United could go and roll them over or could get beat, by 2 or 3. That's where they're at. You don't know. I hope so.
We'll get back to Wazza in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if something is on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. Big D reads all of the comments and he's always interested in what is on your mind. Anyway, in this little clip, Wayne Rooney, legendary Manchester United striker and one of the Big D's favourite players, and I'm sure one of your favourite players too. He is going to be commenting on the potential signing of Cunha from Wolves and also Manchester United's chances of winning the Europa League and also what players who Man United potentially could be signing in the summer might be thinking if the results remain the same at Old Trafford. Anyway, stick around for after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on Wayne Rooney's thoughts about Manchester United. Here's Wazza.
Yeah. How good do you think he is? And is he good enough for Manchester United? Is that a step in the right direction?
I think there's a lot of players good enough for Man United at the minute. No, I think he's a top player, and for Man United it's difficult because a lot of players have gone there with ability and reputation and have struggled over the last few years. So it's difficult. I think what United at the minute need to do is really identify a core group of players who can help sustain the club over the next 2 or 3 years. And instead of going for, which they've done in the past with Lukaku, with Pogba, with Zlatan, going for superstars and names, which I don't think Cunha's at that level at the minute. But they need to really get it. And plus, financial fair play might hit United as well, so they have to really, the recruitment has to be miles better than what it has been, and they have to identify a group of players, a bit what Liverpool have done over the last few years, and try and get players into, gradually get them back, get United back.
Adam, I just want to ask you about Cunha as well, but also, does it worry you that Pereira's come in at Wolves and Amarin at Manchester United, both playing a similar system, and they've got an inferior squad, Wolves to Manchester United, and he's made it's a bigger turnaround, basically.
I mean, it's obviously not ideal when you look at the cold, hard facts and the stats towards it all, but I do think, like, when you look at the squad, the players that we have, they're not suited to the system that the manager wants to play. You could say, does he need to adapt to the players that he has to get better results, which you could argue, but then it's kind of like, does he change his philosophy and all that kind of stuff for players that aren't going to be there for that long? I think he's got a balancing act with that. It's been good to see us introducing some of the younger players into it, because I think if we're going to use this time in the league games mean nothing at the moment. So if we're going to use them, at least use them to give some players some minutes and give some to try and discover whether some of these younger players are good enough or not. I agreed with what Jim Ratcliffe said when he looked at the squad. Because of the injuries and stuff that have been here when he got here, the manager, he's hardly, like, you look at our spending and stuff and you go, well, they're spending a lot of money, the wage bill's quite high, but then the actual players that he's got to use, it doesn't reflect in those players, the wage bill and stuff. So I think it's not ideal. You can't be, I think we've lost about 15 or 16 league games. You never want to be in that kind of position. And you don't want to be in a position where you're just writing off league games for fun. But it's like at the weekend against Wolves, I thought we were probably the better team, should have taken our chances. You've got a goalkeeper who I don't think he trusts, and you've got a number 9 who couldn't hit a barn door at the moment. I've tried to keep faith with what Rasmus Højlund is doing as a young striker, kind of learning his trade in a difficult environment. Like when Wayne come through, he's got leaders around him, he's got obviously a settled manager, a settled team, a club, and players coming through at the moment haven't got any of that. But he doesn't do the basics as a striker. Like, his movement's poor, he's not trying to get onto the end of things, and I just feel if we did have a striker, maybe a few of the results would be different. But you've got to get short term.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I think for Manchester United as a football club, over the next few years, they need to attract players to the football club. So when you're losing games of football and you're relying on, obviously, the Europa League now to get into the Champions League, if Man United don't win that and don't finish in the Champions League, then if I put my players hat on, I'm looking at it. I signed for Man United because of Alex Ferguson. And Man United at the time were going through a transition period as well, but I knew that Alex Ferguson would get that right. So if I'm a player now and I'm thinking Manchester United come in for me, I'll be looking at it thinking, well, the manager hasn't done great since he's gone in there. The losing games, how do we see this moving forward? And that's what I'll be looking at. Then you've got teams who are, Villas, Newcastle, who are coming up and challenging. And so as a player, that'd be my concern as a Man United fan now as well, is I think you still need to go and try and win football games. It's important. You can't just write off games in the Premier League because you want to win the Europa League. And you need that momentum as well to switch you, to switch you from losing games to then go and win games is very difficult. So I think, in my opinion, Man United should be playing the strongest team. I know I get playing kids, or you bring one in, or give a young player the last 20 minutes, but the importance of winning football games, going into the semi-final, going into the final, hopefully, and that building on to attack players, I think this is a really important few weeks now for Manchester United, and I think it has to be managed right, otherwise... Yeah,
if we go out on the 8th, I think the second leg's on the 8th, if we go out, suddenly the season just... Everyone starts talking, the headlines are a little bit bigger, but I can't see the sense in kind of sticking with, Eriksen. Like, why do we need to see him play? We know he's leaving in the summer, maybe try something different in there. Same with Højlund. We get the feeling this kind of experiment's over now, so why not give Cheeto a few minutes, see if he can adapt and be a part of the squad. And like we saw Harry Amas being getting some minutes, Fredrickson at the back. I think I'd rather see us kind of put some faith in the youth than some of the players that have kind of let us down.
But he's not going to do that for the final.
He's not.
Final. Yeah. So, in my opinion, it's more important that Højlund gets minutes, for instance, and hopefully he gets 2 or 3 goals and gets a bit of confidence, because Højlund or Zerki, one of them is going to play probably in the final. So the importance of them getting momentum and confidence back before the final or going into the semi-finals is more important for this period in time. The youngsters will get their opportunities, but in this period, the youngsters might come in and then get left out, not even in the squad for the Europa League. So getting confidence into players now is really... He should be focusing, in my opinion, on what's his team going to be for the semi-final and how can I get confidence into this group of players, this group of 14 players, if you like. He needs to focus on them, in my opinion, rather than, leaving players out, bringing young players in, then flipping it again. It's so hard.
I think he's in a weird position, though, because ideally he does that when we're losing so many players to injuries. Yeah. And then Xerxes out for the rest of the season now. Just when he's not scoring many goals, but he's just kind of picking up some form and he's out. And I think there's the fear that if you do that in the games, in the league games, and you lose a few of them, then we haven't got an 11 for the final.
Obviously, that's always a fear, though, isn't it?
Balancing act.
Are you confident about Bilbao? You'll win the semi-final?
Honestly, I don't know. United could go and roll them over, or could get beat, by 2 or 3. That's where they're at. You don't know. I hope so. Really hope so.
There was a really worrying period. Like, in the grand scheme of things against Lyon over both legs, I thought most of the time we were the better team. But when our heads really, really went. And in that period where they got back into the game, even with 10 men started controlling it, there was some alarming things there. And if we do have a spell like that against Bilbao, they'll beat us. Like, they will beat us. I don't see us being let off the hook against them.
And if we get into the final, no hesitation at all?
No problem. Spurs don't beat us in the final.
Neither of you will be there.
I know.
Although Bilbao.
Do you know what? It always goes back to that notion of everyone seems to always live in the moment when it comes to football. All the fans, all the managers, all the players, all of that, they always just seem to live in the moment. It's like you're only as good as your last result kind of thing. It's very rare you get anyone that looks at the bigger picture. And I just feel as though with Wayne Rooney's response there at the end, where he's like, well, I just don't know about Man United. Sometimes they turn up and then, you never know, they might just get beat 3-0. You just never know. I just... And it's the same with his comment about him looking at Man United now and not looking at the bigger picture. Although he did kind of look at the bigger picture with Alex Ferguson, but it was Alex Ferguson. And United weren't even that bad back then, to be fair. In Man United's so-called transitional period, they didn't finish lower than 3rd. So that doesn't even count. But I still stand by that notion that most people never look at the bigger picture when it comes to football, because it's Atletico Bilbao. Fair enough. It's going to be a tough game, home and away. Yes, they are dangerous. Of course they are. But Man United played really well against Liverpool at Anfield. Liverpool are a better side than Atletico Bilbao, and they're stronger and more physical and they're more technical as well. Yet we played them off the park. So there's no reason why we can't play Bilbao off the park. There's no reason why we can't. We beat Man City away, the reigning Premier League champions, and the current FIFA Club World Cup champions too. They are the current Club World Champions, right? So if we can beat them at the Etihad, we can beat Bilbao in Bilbao. So, and they talk about, the atmosphere, in Bilbao. Well, yeah, fair enough, fine. But, the atmosphere at Anfield when Man United are there is electric too. So there's no reason why Man United can't turn Bilbao over. There's no reason at all, but people forget these results at times. And one of the main reasons why United have been crap in the league is because, lately anyway, is because they've had nothing to play for months. We were never going to get top 4. We were never going to qualify for the Europa League. Everyone knows that this Amorim situation is it was always going to be bad for the first 12 months or something. Whatever the timeline was. It was always going to be bad at first. But at the very least now, and Jim Ratcliffe, he's put an overall blueprint in place. So, we've got a super objective, so to speak. We've got a long-term plan in place for the first time in over a decade. So, if I was a player, I'd be looking at that. However, I do take his point. that, it might be difficult for Man United to attract a certain calibre of player. Maybe. It might be a little bit more difficult, but it's still Man United at the end of the day. It's still Man U, and if we weren't able to win the Europa League and get Champions League football, then that would make a massive difference. But, we'll see. We'll certainly see. But I agree with Wayne Rooney. I don't agree with Adam in terms of just, playing the kids all the time in the league and giving them minutes, because, Rasmus Højlund, we need to keep on working with him at the very least until the end of the season, because Wazza is absolutely right. You never know. He might get a little run of form, going into the semi-final matches and hopefully the final, and then he just might make the difference when we need him the most. It's fine margins, and I've always said that this team is a goal scorer away from shooting up the table, and it is. I still stand by that. A goal scorer and a good physio anyway, because we've got far too many injuries in that side. But Matheus Cunha, I think, will be a good signing. I like the fact that he's a bit of a personality and he's a bit feisty and, a bit nippy. It's like Man United have been teaming with players like that over the years. Wayne Rooney was one of them. He was always arguing and fighting and getting sent off and all of that, like Roy Keane was. Zlatan was a personality. Eric was a personality. Keno was a personality as well. Peter Schmeichel too. So Man United, Paul Ince, Man United have thrived on having big personalities in their side. And I think Matheus Cunha, playing alongside Bruno Fernandes in one of those number 10 positions, supporting maybe an Osimhen, I think that's an absolutely deadly front three. And then that's backed up by Ugarte and Casemiro and Dalot and Dorgu, or Luke Shaw, because I'll tell you what, Luke Shaw has slotted right back in at United. He played well against Lyon. And he just seems to glide along the pitch, even though, he does look a little bit chubby because he hasn't played for a while and whatnot. But he's really good to watch on the ball. And even though he's had so many injuries, and he nearly had his leg chopped off earlier in his career when he was out for 18 months after we first signed him, he still moves about and gets about on that pitch very well. So there's him as well. So, United have got a good side on paper. That is. But hey, Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows indeed? But what do you guys think? Is Wayne Rooney right? Should Rasmus Højlund be getting as much minutes as he can in the lead up to these big games? Is Matheus Cunha a good signing for Manchester United? You tell me. Maybe you want someone else. And yeah, do you think Man United are going to turn over Bilbao? I mean, my mind says there's no reason why we can't turn them over, but there's another part of me that's like, Dominic, Big D. Oh, Dominic is the Big D's name. That's what the D stands for. Spoiler alert, I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But what did you think the D stood for? But anyway, Big D, don't get your hopes up. Don't get emotionally charged. Don't put yourself out there, you'll just get hurt. But anyway, thoughts in the comments. Big deal, see you in the next one.